Hey there, Coach Abaxial here with Game Gym Online. Thanks for coming in. Regardless of whether you want to win a Clash tournament with your friends, climb a challenger, or one day go pro, we're here to point you in the right direction. This is freezing. Freezing is a basic skill that players use to keep a minion wave near their allied turret for an extended period of time. This creates safety for them and risk for the opposing champion who is under threat of being ganked. Opportunities to create a freeze depend on a player's trading strength in lane, and whether the position of one or both junglers is known on the map. We will work through those details later though. For now, let's focus on being able to execute a freeze when the opportunity arises.
Minion waves meet in a neutral position, roughly equidistant between the outer turrets, at the start of a game. Subsequent waves will also meet at these positions if they are not stopped earlier, such as when all prior minions have been cleared. To get the minion wave on your side of the lane, there must either be a greater number of minions on the opposing side, or an enemy champion must attack allied minions. We'll focus on the former. As an A side, for newcomers, directly attacking your own minions is not possible, unlike in Dota. We can stop the minion wave from meeting in the middle by tanking it with our champion in a position closer to the enemy turret than our allied turret. By doing so, we change both where this wave meets and the next one as well. The next enemy minion wave will arrive sooner to this position than the allied minion wave by several seconds. Our minions will take significantly more damage during this time, creating a numerical advantage for the enemy minions, and this means that the wave will eventually arrive at our turret given enough time. After the wave has reached our turret, it will slow down our next wave and thus will be in the reverse situation. Now, we will have a wave on our side of the lane, but it will eventually reach our opponent's turret. It will eventually stack towards them. This is called a bounce. Important, if we look under options, under game, we see that this function auto attack is enabled by default. This means that when our champion is stopped, or at the end of a movement command, they will begin auto attacking hostile units within their range. I personally recommend playing with this off, but there is an alternative, which is the S key. If we tap S, our champion will not auto attack units within their range, and instead wait for another command. The S key can even be used to cancel auto attacks when doing so would perhaps cause you to miss CS. Eagle-eyed among you may notice that when we perform that freeze, it usually changes how the enemy range minions will focus. They'll often put 2 or 3 on a melee minion. If your opponent leashes and you don't, this can be a way to deny experience from them at the very start of laning phase. Anyways, here though, the next skill here is learning to farm without changing the direction of the minion wave, trying not to push. So we really want to focus on our ranged minion auto attacks and only auto when they're in the air right there. So I'm probably gonna have to kill this one next, but I want to try and see, I just barely beat his ranged minion auto, that ranged minion auto right there. Once you've learned how to farm without changing the direction of the minion wave, the next step is to the indefinite freeze. In this, we try and keep the wave in front of our turret for an extended period of time. We do not allow it to bounce, we do not allow it to come back towards the enemy champion. To do this, we have to tank it a little bit, but the other skill is learning how to trim the wave, try and keep a precise number of minions. So that number is going to be 4. We want to see at least 4 more minions in the enemy minion wave. Like this, even if the wave is on our side, even if our wave is arriving first, we will still get an advantage. We will still have a numerical advantage for the enemy minion wave, and thus it will stay on our side of the wave. I like Garen for this because if I get in a rough spot, if I get too many minions, I can use my E in order to try and quickly clear the wave. However, you can use a variety of champions for this. So right there, I used my E in order to trim the wave, try and make sure it didn't get out of control. That can often happen when there's a cannon wave for the enemy minion wave. But then, afterwards, I'm able to keep it at a pretty stable number of minions and stay in control.
Gaining a more detailed understanding of when to freeze and when to reverse the wave will take some time, but for now, let's learn one more detail. Freezing the wave is generally easier the closer it is to the enemy turret. If the enemy minions are closer to your side, then why not move them? This is called dragging. It both makes the difference in minions more decisive and avoids some damage as you are now kiting the minions. If you're having trouble with the prior exercise, creating an indefinite freeze, performing a drag can make the difference. 2 caveats. 1. If you move too fast, you'll get out of the minion aggro range and lose control. The second is that you are exposing yourself to enemy trading opportunities, so you must be stronger than the opponent or have your jungler nearby. When it comes to minion waves, good players see into the future. They know what will happen on the next wave and the wave after. Freezing is one of the easiest ways to see how we can control where minion waves meet, and thus control the future. We are also learning about bounces, which are another important event to keep track of during games.
In this particular case, I knew that the enemy bot lane was backing, and thus I could be very aggressive with freezing the wave. They were not going to stay and try and punish me.
That's all for now. Today can be the day that you learn and master freezing.